Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to my 52 Paths blog. So I'm gonna do a little bit of a different format today. For the interest of time, it only takes about 10 to 15 minutes for me to make one of these videos, as opposed to the 3 to 4 hours to write up one of my longer, more detailed blogs. So I'm going to try and include more video blogs throughout the project. Um, so what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to go through my notebook and look at some of the interesting notes that I wrote about my last visit. So this past Sunday, my friend Chad and we visited the Community of Christ. It's a Mormon denomination, and it's split off, I think, somewhere in the late 1800s, like 1890, something like that. It was just after, no, excuse me, it was 1844, that's what it was. It was 1844, after the assassination of Joseph Smith in Carthage jail. That's what it was. At this point, Joseph Smith's followers were trying to decide, okay, well, who's going to pick up the mantle, who's going to lead the church from here. The mainstream branch of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church that we know today most commonly, that one was the one that was led by Brigham Young, and then he went out west and then eventually settled here in this beautiful state of Utah. And now the Mormon Church is a thriving new religion, and it currently boasts, as of, I think, 2011 or 2012, about 14 million members worldwide. The other denomination, the Community of Christ, the one that Chad and I visited just this past Sunday, they have a worldwide membership of only about 250,000. And this surprises me, and I'll get to that in just a minute as to why, but they differ so vastly in core beliefs and teaching methods. It's just, well, let's just put it this way. If I had known that this flavor of Mormonism existed when I was a child, I might actually still be an active member. It was by orders of magnitude a much more pleasant experience going to this just one Sunday service than any other Mormon service I've been to, like mainstream LDS. But those who chose not to follow Brigham Young, they stuck more to the Smith family. So some of the original followers thought that it should be something along the lines of church leadership should be passed down through the family. So they decided that they wanted to follow, they wanted Joseph Smith's son, Joseph Smith Jr., to lead the church, and then they would follow him, and they decided he was next in line to be the true prophet. But he was just a child at the time, so he wasn't fit to lead. So that group stayed behind in, I believe, Missouri, while Brigham Young and his followers continued to head out west. So that's just a little bit about the history of it. I would recommend, though, if you're interested in knowing more, just jump online, do a quick Google search on Community of Christ, check out even the Wikipedia page. I'm not usually one to promote Wikipedia, but I think that its credibility is steadily rising. But yeah, check out the Wikipedia differences between the Mormon churches. I'll include a link to that in the blog. So a little bit about the service. It had a very positive message, and it was, I'll just go through my notebook and, kind of go over some of the points that I noted, and you'll see right away there are some huge differences between the Community of Christ and its mainstream counterpart. But about the church, it was just a little unassuming building tucked away just off the corner of 7th and Monroe here in Ogden, so looking at it, it was a pretty old building, and it looked like something you would actually see in 1800s New England. So whether or not that was done on purpose, I don't know, but it added to the whole ambiance of the service. So it was a very small congregation. There were only about 7 or 8 of them that were in there, not including Chad and I. So just under a dozen members there in this chapel. Be sure to look for the pictures that I'll include there in the blog. Those will be there. I just won't have time right now to write my really long entry. So, some interesting things I observed. The speaker of the chapel, he was openly gay, and I thought that was interesting. I thought it was great. So we have this openly gay. I think in the community of Christ they call their speakers a pastor. So we had this openly gay pastor up there, and he was talking about his experiences with the church and how good it is that they can accept anyone. Um, and so he led the service, and we began with an opening hymn. And I also have to say that by order of magnitude, again, the music here was so much better than the service that we went to the week before at the Joseph Smith Memorial Building. I remember from my childhood that the Mormon services tend to be very long, dry, and boring, with a monotone elderly man at the front of the room speaking. This was not the case in this church. It was a really animated, really enthusiastic, openly gay man uh, leading the service, and the music was a lot more upbeat and it was of much better quality. It wasn't like on a 70s synthesizer or something. I mean, this was some pretty quality sound. Whereas even in the Joseph Smith Memorial Building, where they had really great acoustics and a big open space, the music was still dry, still boring, and I wanted to go to sleep. Um, and I noticed that this was the music in the opening hymn. It was pretty dark. I got a recording of it. I just need to figure out how to get it off my phone. And once I can get that into an MP3 file, I'll be happy to share it. If not, I'll try and find a link to this particular hymn. Um, it did have kind of like a little darker element to it. It's very melodic. It almost sounded medieval or something. Uh, Fantastic. Um, and the service was opened with a trumpet. It was made from a horn of an udu. I think it was an udu. I looked at the shape of it, and then I jumped online to see if I could find the species of African antelope to which it would have belonged. They called it a shofar. So they took it and then just sounded a really long bellow on it, and that opened the service, and it woke me the hell up because I was just getting off a 20-hour workday and really didn't feel like waking up and going to church that morning, but I'm so glad I did. All right, so it was a lot more casual. There really wasn't much of a dress code, so I just went in my jeans and t-shirt, so that was nice. I didn't have to dress up. Um, Something else I found very interesting was this church observed Lent. And I had never seen that in any Mormon congregation before, so I'm just thinking to myself, how can they call themselves Mormons? I think basically what it boils down to is mostly the history, but they also do use Mormon scripture, so the Doctrine and Covenants and the Book of Mormon. They still use those. Um, So one thing I noticed about the congregation is most of them were elderly. No disrespect there. I mean, this is just an observation I made. Most of the people there were a bit older, with the exception of one young lady. She was probably in her teens, and she was the granddaughter of the sound guy, and then another pastor that was there. That was really cool to see. That everybody there was like one big family. They were very close. And some of the congregation were not there. I don't know what it was. They were probably visiting another Community of Christ Church in Salt Lake because there was a special speaker there. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, everyone was very, very nice. And one thing that really, really struck home was every every day in their main temple they have a prayer. They have a prayer for world peace. And every Sunday they have a prayer of peace dedicated to a certain country. Today, or excuse me, that Sunday that we went, it was dedicated to Austria. And these prayers felt very, very sincere. These guys are all about community involvement, charity, taking care of people that are in positions less fortunate than their own. So I really got to give this church a big freaking thumbs up. These guys scored probably a perfect 10 across the board, or pretty close to there. I was very, very impressed with these guys. They were about peace and love, and the take-home message that the pastor said, and this one I really think more people should incorporate into their own lessons. It might actually attract more people to their faith. Is he said uh, Jesus' mission was not about forcing people into a church and making them sit in straight rows, telling them what to believe. It was about helping the community, helping the people, and loving one another. Now, that is a message I can fully support, and I'm behind it 100%. I think more churches should focus on helping others and accepting others instead of the really guilt-ridden ones that tell you that you're worthless without God. And I'm not going to name any specific denomination, but I have seen this during the project, that there are a few that really focus on original sin and repentance. And I'm thinking that's just such a sad and depressing message. I wish more denominations can have a more positive tone to it. We're almost done. So after the announcements were made, like, okay, on this date we're gonna have a potluck, so after business as usual, then the floor was opened to prayer requests. So people in the congregation would think of someone that they loved or knew, or somebody that was having a hard time, or just something that was going on that they wanted prayers for. So when the floor was open, they would ask prayers for these people. And once the rounds were made, then the pastor at the front, he said a collective prayer, including the names of the individuals that were mentioned, and it was all very, very sincere. It wasn't just routine, automated, repetitive stuff. It was very heartfelt, and I felt, they really meant it. So it wasn't just protocol. It was genuine. These people. They also had a little ceremony towards the end where it was an act of forgiveness. It was to start off. The season of Lent, and what this is a nail with a ribbon tied around it. What we did is the entire congregation gathered around an altar with a wooden chalice and the horn, and then on this altar were a bunch of these nails with these ribbons. These nails represent any harm or trespass that you may have had against any of the members that were there. And so what we did is we stood around the altar, and then we started at one end. One person would take a nail and then hand it to the person next to them and say, please forgive me if I have wronged you. And then the person who's receiving the nail would then say, I forgive you, and I'll pray for you. And then he'd pass it on to the next person. Please forgive me if I have wronged you. Please pray for me. And then it would go on and come full circle. So everyone left with one of these nails, and then at the end of Lent, what they're going to do is they're going to nail these into a large wooden cross as kind of like a symbol of reconciliation. And then they'll look at this nail that they've been given, and then that will serve as a constant reminder to them to think of that person that they have wronged and that now forgives them. It's very beautiful. Something also really unique about this church, as to its counterpart, is that they do use the sign of the cross. I don't remember seeing crosses when I was a member of the Latter-day Saints, and they view God as a father, like a literal father, and they use the word Abba. I hope I pronounced that right, Abba, which means daddy. So God is a father figure, not a master or someone to be feared, but rather someone to be loved, somebody who's there for you, who's there to help you and comfort you and get you through difficult times in your life. So I thought that was really beautiful as well. Something also interesting is that one of the hymns that they played was a Catholic hymn, and Chad recognized this. He didn't even have to open the hymnal. he just sang it. He just knew it. Um, so I might also include another video talking about the after-service luncheon that we did. We had a few interesting conversations with the pastor, but that's another story. But this is just kind of a brief overview of what we covered there in the service. And I gotta say, I want to see these guys again. I want to keep in contact with that pastor. I want to pick his brain a little bit and talk to him. He's so knowledgeable about world history, geography, world religions. This man is educated. He studied in like Catholic seminary, so there was a theology course obviously there, and they really go to town on the history of Christianity and Bible study, and the man is just an encyclopedia of knowledge in the matter. So I'd like to talk to him a bit more and get Chad in on this. But yeah, if anything else comes to mind, I'll be sure to include it in the written portion of the blog. If you'd like to know more about this wonderful church here, please send me a message. I'll be sure to put you in contact with them. Maybe include a link. They do have a website. Something also really cool is in these pamphlets here. It was an outline of the service, what we would expect. And it had some of the hymns and prayers that went along with it. But in there was this little sleeve. And what this was is it showed where the donations to the church have went, the projects that they worked on, the things that they've done in the community. They added 3,000 square feet of growing area for a local community, for a community garden in this impoverished town in Montana. So I like that they're open about where your money is going and the charities that they support, and it's nice to see the fruits of your tithings, I think. So, no pun intended, but the fruits of your tithings, you get to see where your money's gone and all the good that they're doing, and I love it. And they don't do it to promote the church; they do it for the sole purpose of helping other people. No strings attached. You don't have to join the church. You don't have to be baptized or convert. It's just they're going out and doing nice things for people. So I loved this church, and I loved those people, and I'd really like to see them again. And I really want to urge and encourage anybody and everybody who's reading and watching this to go pay these guys a visit. You know, find a local congregation, find the community of Christ, talk to these people, sit in on a meeting. If you need an uplifting morning, these guys, they're the ones you want to go visit. And of course, there's a few others. You can check my previous blogs for those. So I don't want this to run too long. I've already gone longer than I wanted to, but next week, be looking forward to it. Chad and I are going to visit another Pentecostal church. This one, according to their website, is really quite conservative, and well, we're gonna have to try and well, I don't know if you've known anything about Chad. You know, he's also an openly gay man, and if we don't want to get kicked out of this church, we're gonna have to keep him under wraps. Like, nah, I'm just kidding. Nah, so this is gonna be a fun one. I'm excited for it. He's excited for it. Albeit probably a little anxious, but we'll get through it. So hopefully that one's going to be the one that's during the revival, and we'll get to see the madness that YouTube promised us. But again, sometimes it's nice to have your expectations, kind of fall through. Kind of gives you hope that it's just stuff on YouTube, or it's just sensationalism. But we'll see. Anyway, guys, thank you for your patience. Thank you for sitting through this, and be looking forward to the written portion. I'll update the blog here eventually, but been real busy working the two jobs. This 50, 60 hours a week thing is killing me. So have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.